Okay. Right, I think we're recording. Hello,
Yeah.
everybody. I'm Hannah, and I'd like to introduce you all to Ellis Ranson. Ellis is an amazing stylist. She works with lots of different celebrities, doing editorial shoots and brand work as well. And she also has her own fashion brand called Suki Bella. Welcome, Ellis. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
No, thanks. It's brilliant to have you along. Can you tell us a bit about yourself, please, and how you got into fashion styling?
Okay, so I do a lot of fashion, celebrity, and I've started to do quite a bit of editorial as well. I studied at the Fashion Retail Academy, which is in London. So to be honest, to start from the very beginning, did A-levels and I did fashion at my sixth form, and my tutor said, I don't think fashion's for you.
No way.
Which was, I just knew that's what I wanted to do. So for me, that was just, I was like, right, I need to move on from here.
Yeah.
So I then found the Fashion Retail Academy in London. Mm-hmm. And it's really raining. Can you hear that? Or can you hear me?
Yeah, it's raining and thundering here as well.
Yeah. So I went to the Fashion Retail Academy and I did a level 3 diploma, which was in fashion retail. So that covered styling, merchandising, buying, VM, retail. It covered everything. So it was like you did lots of courses and different tutors, and so that was really good. You just know you like clothes and you like fashion. You don't really understand how many different areas there are. So I was very unsure. I just knew that's what the route I wanted to go down. So then from there, once you finish that course, you could go on to level 4, but level 4, you could only do buy-in or VM. Mm-hmm. And from what I'd learned in the first year, I knew I didn't want to be a buyer, but I felt I'd get a really good understanding of the industry. So I did the level 4 in buy-in. As much as I loved doing the course, I knew that definitely wasn't what I wanted to do. I did work experience in buy-in, and I still felt I wanted to be a lot more creative. Mm-hmm. So during my second year at college, I got a part-time job at Choice Store. Probably most people haven't heard of it, but if you're from Essex or South, you would have heard of it. It's like a bit of one of them. But so it was a designer boutique, and it's family run. So I think I was 16 when I started there, and I just sort of did a bit of everything because there wasn't enough people there. So you sort of just got to, and that is something I would say, if you can get the chance to work in a small boutique or for a small Instagram brand or anything that's a bit smaller, although you feel like you're doing a lot more than probably you're being paid to do, or, it's probably not exactly where you want to be, that's where you're going to learn the most. Because when you go into these big brands, you are just one of so many people. Whereas when I was literally, I think one day I'd be doing the windows, then I'd be packing boxes, and that's where I started to get a real taste of styling. So I would start putting the outfits together. They didn't really have a stylist, so I just sort of was like, well, I'll do it. I just started styling the outfits up. But I was still at college. So that was just a few days a week. When I left college, they offered me a full-time job. And again, it wasn't a real role. It was just literally a bit of everything. So I stayed there for 2 years, but I knew I wanted to try fast fashion, because I felt like, you're watching all these ads on TV and magazines, and I was like, I really want to get into fashion. Mm-hmm. So I applied for a job at New Look, and again, I'd gone from a brand where I didn't have much knowledge about styling. I sort of was winging it, and then literally, I know, and I then went to New Look, and I was there for three and a half years. So I was their first in-house stylist, which was really cool. And that was doing e-com. And so with styling, e-com is probably a really good place to start, because you learn about pinning the clothes, how a garment needs to look in a photo. And it's not so much pressure. You're not thinking too much about the outfit. It's more about how everything fits and looks. That's a really good way to learn, like, all the techniques, the steaming, like you said, like sometimes when you go on a first shoot, you don't even know about the steamers or any of the pins. You don't know what you need in your styling kit. So it's like a really good starting place to get into the industry. So that is where I sort of started with my ecom. But as I was there, I started to do other stuff like videos and campaign stuff. And I was like, this is what I want to be doing. So I knew that I wanted to go freelance. I wanted to leave being in the house and go freelance. But obviously you can't just do that overnight. It takes a lot of time. You need a lot of contacts. So I started to test shoot every weekend, literally. And you can, to practice and get pictures, to start off, you can pull in mates, you just need to find people who have like are in the same position, you know, like photographers, makeup artists, models, and you just put looks together. And I started doing that every weekend. But as I was doing it, my pictures were getting better because obviously you're learning.
Yeah.
So then I started to get better photographers working with me, and then that started to lead to, actually I started to get some jobs. So then I was in a position where I was ready to go freelance, and I've been freelance 4 years this week. So
like crazy. So how did you build up those contacts? Because obviously you would have, when you were at New Look, did they use a lot of freelancers in the studio there, or was it full time?
Yeah, well, a lot was full time, but it's so mad. And I think in this industry, every person you meet is important, no matter if it's the studio assistant or anyone, because by the time it's just so mad. Like, you can bump into so many different people. Like, as much as this industry is big, it's small. Everyone knows each other, everyone talks, and you just can't afford to. Not that I'm not a real rude person. Well, I don't think I'm a rude person anyway, but you can't afford to be rude to people, or, you know, you've just got and as bad as this sounds, every person you meet is an opportunity.
Yeah, definitely. That's such good advice, because you never know who knows. It's like a ripple effect, isn't it? You just don't know who knows who and who they're going to introduce you to. And
there has been so many times I've been on shoots and they've gone, oh no, you can't use her, she was blah blah blah, and it's like, well, because people do talk.
Yeah, definitely. So when you were at New Look, like, you did ecom, but did you get involved in any other sides of the business at all? Like, what kind of shoots were you doing other than just ecom?
So Monday to Friday was a lot of ecom, outfit building, but you'd meet with like the buyers to discuss profit blocks, which is all the, you know, the bit things that they want to push. I don't even know, you know, like, it was just anything that they really want to push that they've bought big in. So it's not just being a stylist, isn't just, this is what I think's really common. I think a lot of girls think I can dress, so I should be a stylist, and there's so much more to it, and that's what you learn over the space of being like assisting and freelancing. There is so much to it. Like, when you're doing it for a brand, there might be an unreal top, but they've only bought 200 of them. You've got to use the ugly top that they've bought thousands of, and you've got to make that look nice. So it was a lot of that. And then, so that was ecom side, and I was just sort of where I knew what I wanted to get to. I started to just become friends with like the social team, and I'd be like, oh, any shoots coming up, and like, oh, I'd love to help out, you know, just. And when I first started, I was so shy, not shy, but I would be so nervous to ask. And now I just think, what's the worst can happen? If you don't ask, you literally don't get. And if you don't ask, someone else is going to ask. So
it's so funny you say, because I say that exactly to my students all the time. I'm like, what's the worst can happen? Don't ask, don't get. And
exactly.
More often than not, you know, their person says yes, and it's like, okay, they've asked, and, you know, they've shown willing. And
exactly. Or even they'll say no, but actually I'll keep you in mind for something else. So it just is so worthwhile. So I just started to get more involved in stuff, and then I started to get a taste of doing, like, we used to do like YouTube videos, you know, when YouTube was like, well, I guess it still is a big thing, but started to do YouTube, and then social media. That was probably when Instagram started to get really big, and started to do some bits for them there. And then by the time I'd started getting as much as, do you know, so my aunt used to have a PR agency, and she said to me when I was talking about wanting to be freelance, she was like, don't ever just sit here. As soon as you get to the top of what you can do for that company, that's when you move on. Don't ever be comfortable. Because you'll never move on.
Because I think that's the thing, isn't it? You get stuck in a rut, I suppose, and then you just think you've got to push yourself and do the next thing. And it's such a good do is to push yourself to be inspired the whole time.
Definitely. And I was so gutted to be leaving New Look. I absolutely loved it. I cried when I handed my notice in. You know, like it wasn't.
Yeah, it came to
Because I was so ready to leave,
yeah.
but not in a. But I could have easily sat there for another 3 years.
Yeah, I did the same. I worked at Oasis doing, you know, fairly similar job, and
Yeah.
I think it was about 3 years in the end, and I did exactly the same on the last day. I was like, I don't want to go, but you know, you have to, because there's another opportunity there, and you just
exactly.
got to yourself. So yeah, great. When you've done a lot of like editorial, commercial, and personal styling work as well. Being freelance, obviously you're working on so many different projects and for so many different clients all the time. How do you adapt to working for different clients who've got, you know, different briefs, different tastes, like different market, target market, different aesthetic? How do you find yourself able to adapt?
It's so funny because it's really strange to answer that, because I feel like now it's just become, you know, let's say so I stole Ferne, McCann and Kate Ferdinand every day, their whole wardrobes.
Every day?
So I do all their outfits, and I will go in Zara and I'll do a walk round, but I have to in my head think, right, I'm going to do Fern, I'll go pay, then I'll do Kate, because there's too much of like, otherwise I'm not thinking, no, that is just trying to be focused on one thing. It's quite hard, because 1 week you could be doing them two, then you could be doing a menswear shoot, then you could be doing like, the other day I had this like drag race shot, you know, like it's so varied what you're doing. But I write a lot of lists. That's my sort of,
I can't cope with
and
that.
I love a list. I even still have a file of facts. I have to write it all down. But yeah, it's so crazy. And that is another thing about being a stylist. When I first went in, I was like, oh, I'll just put them in what I wear. But then you soon realise not everyone can wear what you wear, or you can't wear what they wear. And there's very different, and I don't style. There's a lot of things where I think I actually don't particularly love what I'm putting this person in, or don't love what this model's wearing, but I know it's on the brief and it works and it's going to sell. Or so it's like, it's tricky. You have to get your head out of thinking what you love, and you have to sort of become what other people want.
Completely, don't you?
Yeah.
So when you are working with Kate and Fern, you mentioned there that you have to kind of adapt yourself to, you know, working for them, like do Kate first and then Fern. How do you work with their like body shapes and their tastes, like to kind of shape what you're picking for them?
So I think I met Kate probably 3.5 years ago, and before me she was really well known for her co-ords, her slinky things, and I was like, I understand her figure and I really can understand to show it off, but I wanted her to show it off in a more fashion way. But her figure is, I mean, for example, with her wedding dress, her bust was couture size 16, her waist 6, and then her hips were a 10. Like, that is just mad proportion. So we have a seamstress all the time, and I think that is something I always would do with her, which is probably something she didn't do before having a stylist. I always go up a size so that I'd go up a size and then get a seamstress to pull it in, take it in. But it's so mad. You just start to really learn body shapes, and I've tried to read up on body shapes, and I just think there's no real rules. It's just it's so dependent on when you've got someone in front of you. But that is a really good thing to start practicing. If you've got friends at home who, you know, are different shapes and sizes, see what they're wearing, give them tips, have a look at what sort of shapes work on them. Because once you sort of have a uniform of what shapes do work with people, you can sort of use it for other clients and work with it.
And when you're totally. And when you're working on editorial projects, like you mentioned earlier that, you know, you work with a lot of different creatives and you've met so many people along the way, if you're planning an editorial shoot, so you mentioned earlier that, you know, you did loads and loads of test shoots, how do you work with other creatives to come up with concepts for shoots?
So I still test now. I think it's one of the best things, because, you know, the big jobs you get aren't creative, and that's a really good way to show off your creativity, meet new people. Like, for example, last week I tested with a new girl and she's put me forward for a big job. So there's never like a time when you should stop, you know, doing little freebies and working on your own portfolio. But do you know, we tend to make WhatsApp groups now, and all the creatives are in one, or Instagram groups. Instagram's the best place to meet people for shoots, and I literally will message. I just message anyone, hey, if you ever need a stylist. But you just do.
Don't ask, don't get.
Yeah. And yeah, make groups, and I mean, all go on Pinterest, come up with a story. I've been lucky, really. A lot of the time, the photographer or makeup artist have come to me with a brief, and then I'll just go on Pinterest, pull some pictures. I mean, Instagram save button is the best thing ever.
On constantly.
I know. So I have a little folder on there, and it will say shoot ideas. So anything I love, I'll just save there, whether it's a pose, an outfit, colour, background, anything. And I just put it all in there. So then I always just refer back to that.
Yeah.
I've got loads of Pinterest boards that I just constantly look on. And I still love a magazine.
Yeah.
I always flick through a magazine.
I think so. I love just looking in like glossy magazines.
Oh, I know. I'm loving Elle at the minute.
It feels so, yeah, I really like Elle. I have a subscription to Elle. So good.
I do, yeah.
Feels always just luxurious, doesn't it, to read a magazine?
No, I miss Look.
Oh, well, that's what I used to work for.
Did you? I loved that.
Yeah, before I worked at Oasis, that's where I was working at Look, and it was I was there for about 4 years, and it was the most fun. It was just, you know, we always never ever bored. Like, you were always like going on an amazing trip or something. And
I'm so jealous because I feel like I missed the whole magazine era.
Yeah, it was really good, and it, you know, really good teaching to be able to, you know, show how to like spin trends into stories and that sort of thing.
Yeah, love it.
And how do you spin trends into like red carpet looks for your clients? Do you tend to go by trends for that, or?
It's really difficult because with red carpets over here, you're really limited. There's not, you know, like, it's not like the Met Gala or all these crazy ones that they do in LA and everything. So you are quite limited. So there's only so many brands that will loan. So it's just trying to constantly, but with Ferne, we've always been influenced by LA and all the carpets out there, because I think in the UK, people almost go a bit prom girly, like glam. Yeah. So we always try and do something a bit different. And what I'll do is throughout the year, any red carpets that happen, I start saving them on a Pinterest. Mm-hmm. And then I'll just sort of, in my head, I know, obviously it's different now because of COVID, but normally January is NTA. So September time, I'll start putting together some ideas and be thinking, right, these are the colours I want to do. I think, oh, she's not worn pink before, I'll put her in pink. Or we done that last year, we really need to change it up. But I mean, it's hard to do too much trend stuff with red carpets over here. So just sort of what I think works.
Yeah. And if you've got a new client coming to you to dress them, how early would they get in contact with you to dress them for a red carpet? Or could it be like 6 months, or?
It really varies. You've got the really organised ones who will book you from NTAs and go, I want to book you for next year. Yeah. So you know, and then you've got people who message, like an agent ringing you the night before, hey, we're dressing blah blah tomorrow, can you get her a dress?
And how have you done that before? And have you said yes to doing it? And how?
I think at the beginning, when I first went freelance, I said yes to anything and everything. And I mean, in some ways that's a good thing, in some ways bad, because I've learned to not say yes to things now, because
You're still there.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Can you see? Oh, it's gone. Sorry, it just did. I was like, oh God. Because I've realised I don't want to do things and not do it well, because then you won't get the next job. And sometimes it's good to say no, not always be so available. Mm-hmm. But I think when you first start out, you just need to be available and be like, yes, I'll do it. I'll do anything. But yeah, there's been a few times, and there's been a few jobs I think, oh, I wish I never said yes to, but I'm doing it and it's been hell. But it's so mad. Like, I speak to other stylists, and like with NTAs, because you're so limited, it is so stressful, and and you're like, why am I doing this? What am I like? Why? And then the day comes and you're like running around this hotel, dressing someone upstairs, someone downstairs, the dress won't go on, got a pencil trying to get the zip on. I actually filmed BTS from this year on my Instagram, which is quite fun to watch. But then then that evening, all the Daily Mail comes out, best dressed, and then you're like, this is why I do it.
Yeah, exactly. And you do a lot of work for high street fashion brands as well. So like you do a lot of work for I Saw It First. How important is it to you to be or to showcase accessible fashion?
I love high street and fast fashion, as much as that's probably not the right thing to say. I just think I love to show. I think you don't have to have money to be stylish, and I don't think you need to be, you know, you can go to Primark and look better than someone who maybe has loads of money and goes in Selfridges and puts on. I just don't think money should be an issue when it comes to fashion. I think everyone should be able to get nice outfits, and you know, because I think, you know, that makes you feel good, don't it, when you can dress. And I think as much as some of these online boutiques, you know, I don't believe in everything that they do, or I just think it's nice that you can so easy and so quickly get outfits. And I don't know, maybe I'm saying the wrong thing because everyone's so against it at the minute, aren't they? But for me, for a lot of the jobs I do, it's so good that you can get these affordable pieces, because sometimes I do have to buy stuff and obviously I can't always pull in, so it's handy that I can get good stuff for a nice price. And I think like River Island and things, I don't even see them as such fast fashion. I know like the I Saw It First and the Boohoo and stuff, but I Saw It First, as much as they do all the fast fashion, when you go there, everyone's really young, and the owner really believes in helping out students, and like most of the people who work there are straight from college, which I think is a really nice thing. So they're good for that sort of thing, because they've got the money and they've got the resources. They can employ a large amount of people, and it can be a lot younger people. So I think that's good in that way.
Have you got any top tips from the inside of what they look for when they're recruiting people fresh out of uni and college?
Do you know what? I think it's all about being dedicated and just showing that you will, you know, like, we'll go make everyone a cup of tea, and you don't think you're too good to make everyone a cup of tea. Mm-hmm. You'll pack boxes, you'll just everything, you'll give a go, and you'll try hard at everything, because they're the times when they go, oh, who's that girl or guy who was always around, always happy, always doing that? Let's give her that. Do you know, like, it's just, it does go such a long way. And everyone in that building who I've worked with is like that.
Yeah. I've got a saying, work hard and be nice to people. And I think that I did one of these guest talks with a art director the other day, and she said exactly the same thing. It goes so far, just work hard.
It's nice. So simple.
And, you know, you don't have to do anything else, just work hard and be nice.
Yeah, exactly.
Philosophy for life, I think.
No. That should just be life philosophy.
Should.
In general.
Exactly. That's it. Interview done, you know.
I have a photographer who we used to do amazing campaigns with Blue Ink, but that obviously went down. Yeah. And he used to say, I don't care if you're not the best at your job, or, you know, the prettiest model or the best model that they get. As if I'm doing a 3-day shoot with you, I just don't want you to be a dick. Yeah. That's what he said. He said, as long as you're nice and you're not that, then am I allowed to say that? Sorry.
Yeah, definitely. I swear all the time. Especially people like, Hannah, stop swearing. I have to really stop myself. Do you think that as a stylist, you have a styling signature? So many people, you know, a lot of stylists are quite famous for having a certain aesthetic. Do you think that you have one?
Yeah, I think I definitely get pulled in for, like, last week I got a job that was quite, I think if people want something that's a bit mismatchy and quirky, like, I don't really have any rules when it comes to clothes. I don't agree that you shouldn't wear silver and gold together. I don't mind red and green, navy, you know, like, I don't really agree with any sort of, and I'm not that minimal. I'm probably a bit more don't know how I just like to accessorize, and like this job last week was loads of sparkles, and the photographer rang me and was like, it needs to be you. And I'm not a particularly sparkly person at all. I don't ever wear sparkles, but I like to just make everything over the top and a bit wow.
You like to have fun with fashion.
Yeah.
I think, you've got to have fun with it.
Exactly.
So
I think as well, a lot of people were so, like so drawn to being like Kylie Jenner, like that whole really like, there's a lot of influencers on Instagram, and you look on their page and they look amazing, but then you go down and someone else is doing the exact same, and it's all very samey. So I think it's nice to just mix it up and have a bit more different. You don't just have to think, oh, everyone else is wearing that, so I should do that. You want to have your own style and have your own sort of thing.
Yeah. I think with Instagram as well, it's so easy to feel pressure, isn't it? Like you look at other people.
Oh, massively.
You compare yourself to them all the time, whether it's like their fashion and their style, or it's their body shape or whatever. So
everything. And even with work, like you'll see someone posting, you'll be like, oh, why did they get that job? I didn't get that. Yeah. But I've really learned to switch off from that and just sort of, there's enough for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, don't stress about it. If someone's doing something amazing, you'll be doing something else amazing next week. And Instagram is fake as well, so
not real. How do you deal with personal styling clients who have insecurities? Because you can. Yeah. When I have done quite a bit of personal styling before, and I always think, you can swear blind that somebody's got the best legs in the entire world, but if they don't believe it, then you're fighting a lost battle. You're not going to get them in that mini dress. So how do you deal with kind of making somebody feel brilliant?
Well, do you know what? Over the last year, I've done a lot of shoots with the Sun, and that's a lot of real people, as well as, because I do more shoots. I don't really do much personal styling. I have a few people message me. I always will ask someone, is there any areas that they really don't enjoy on show, or is there any body, or I tend to ask people what's their best bits, like what do they love to have on show, what's their favorite things, and then I sort of go from there. But I think you have to just slowly, like if someone really says they hate their legs, then it's like Kate would never really have her legs out. In the last year we've got her legs out. It's like taking time and like slowly making someone, like if they hate their legs, start with a dress but over the knee boots, then go to a knee-high boot, and sort of do it in stages. Don't just straight away go, well, no, here's a mini dress and heels you're wearing. Do you know, like it's sort of gradually building someone's confidence.
And you run a fashion brand called Suki Bella.
Yeah.
Tell us about it. Like, how did you come up with the idea? Like, what for anybody who doesn't know about Suki Bella?
So it's mad actually, because we're doing a whole rebranding at the minute, so it's sort of gone on pause just through lockdown. But so I own Suki Bella with Ferne and her sister. So I started styling Ferne, and we did her book tour, and then at her book tour, it must have been the press day, her sister came and we just was chatting, and her and her sister said they'd been looking to do a brand, and they was like, we've been thinking and we'd love you to do it with us. So it was just such a mad, it weren't like planned, it just sort of was like, yeah, this will be good. So we come up with the idea, and basically when I was styling Fern, we loved all the Aussie brands, and like by the time you pay import tax and all that rubbish, we was like, it's too much, like let's just try and make our own. So we started it, but I think we thought it would be easy, and I think we thought, because I'm working fashion, I'm going to know everything about doing a brand, and because Fern's always working with shoots and brands, she'll be fine, and Soph's really clever and she's like the maths, so we was like, we'll be fine, it'll be easy. It's not. But it's amazing because you learn so much, because like some of the things that we've gone through is just mental. I think at the beginning of COVID, we was waiting for all our samples that didn't turn up. Then the guy who turned up thought he may have had COVID, and it was all just, I don't think, unless you have a brand, I don't think you go through any of these dramas in normal life. Like everything goes wrong, everything. Yeah. But now we're at a stage where everything seems to be working, but it's been 2.5 years, so it takes a lot of time, and it's a lot of dedication, because you don't get anything out of it money wise until 3 years in, 2.5 years in. So we're sort of constantly working, and it's like a full-time job, but we've all got full-time jobs as well, and you're like trying to juggle it all, but it does go hand in hand well. And I think I've got a lot of friends now who have brands, and it is so rewarding having, you know, like especially when you're out and you see someone in something that's yours, and you're like, oh, or you see it on Instagram.
Yeah. You talked about, you know, loads of things went wrong. Can you tell us about a time like when something did go wrong and how you overcame it?
So, well, I'm trying to think what was probably the best one. We once had, Fern wore an outfit and it sold out. So we got a bit like, oh, we better get more of them. Messaged the supplier, was like, can we get another 30? We was like, we got so excited, we put them online before they arrived, because we was like, oh, they'll sell out, let's sell them out, then we'll just get rid of them.
Yeah.
So we sold them all, and the supplier then messaged us saying, we can't get them to you, you can't have them. So then we had to message every customer with an apology and a discount code.
Yeah.
And it was just, I think it took us like 2 days, and it was all for nothing.
No. And how do you think that your job as a stylist really helps you at Suki Bella?
Well, it's handy because, you know, we do shoots, and where I know how a shoot works, I know locations, I know photographers, you can pull in so many friends that, like, you know, like we had Hair by Sarah and Mikey on our shoot, who are normally really expensive. They done it for free for us as friends, you know, like you just rope in so many friends to get involved. I can style it. Me and Ferne ended up modelling it at one point because the models were getting so expensive. You know, like you just sort of, because you're doing it every day, you can sort of work on, you can sort of cut corners and save money. But I think, and also just trend wise, you sort of know what people are buying, what people want. But that's why we're doing this whole rebrand, because we just realised people are just buying basics at the minute. So the going out dresses and stuff are just sort of on hold.
So what's in store for the new brand?
Well, to be honest, we're still, this is very early days. We've all had this idea for a while, and then I think with Corona it was really tricky. It was literally like a roller coaster. One week it was selling out, the next week we didn't have a sale. So I think we've learned from that what was selling out, and it was like the t-shirts and casual bits. So we're just sort of having a relook at it all, maybe change the name, which is really sad, but we just want to completely start again, because we've learned everything we've learned from it. And I've spoke to a lot of people before, and the best thing that they've ever done for their brands is rebrand and start again. Once you've, you know, like that, it's almost like your guinea pig, and then we're going to start again. Yeah.
Would you, now that you're going to do a rebrand, is there anything you do differently this time round?
Everything. No, I think it's so hard, because it's the same with styling and anything, you get caught up in, oh, that sold. None of us like that. None of us want to do that, but we're like, oh, that works. Let's just do that. And then all of a sudden we're something that you don't want to be. And I found that when I first started with styling, I sort of started to get these celeb jobs, but the celebs, I say celebs loosely, and they started coming in. And then I was like, this isn't what I wanted to do. And don't get me wrong, at first, when I first started fashion, I thought, oh, I'll be styling covers of Vogue. Like, that is so far from what I will be doing ever. But just because I think you don't realise as well, in styling there's so many different lanes, isn't there? And that's like, it's the same with fashion, like your brand. You want to stay in your own lane, but you get so tempted by other things. So I think it's just, we know what we want to be now. We know the route we want to take. So we're going to just stay in it and persevere.
Where did the name Suki Bella come from?
So strange. So Sook is market stall.
Yeah.
And then our first collection, everything was a souk, like a market in. So we had the Temple, the Medina, all markets around the world, and that was our little thing, and that's where we were starting, and then it went off elsewhere. And Belair, Fern's mum and mum used to call them two Belair. She's called, but I don't know the full story, but what is that? Suki Bella. Perfect.
Works well.
Yeah.
Instagram's quite a big part of your job now, so you're represented at Laurel Rolly Management as an influencer, I suppose.
Yeah, which is mad.
I suppose you are. How do you balance being like your work as a stylist and an influencer?
So this is really, really tricky because during lockdown, I've become an influencer because obviously I had so much time and I was doing all my videos and loving it. And now it's like I'm back to work, and I was like, oh, it'll be fine. I can just keep a day out. But like today, I've had a full day of returns and then looking for the next job. So I've actually booked tomorrow out to film. So it's just actually being strict and being like, no, I need to take this day to do my Instagram videos.
Yeah. They're working so well. I noticed that Stylist had picked.
I know. I did get very excited about that one.
So did they commission you to do that one, or did
so they got in touch with me in March. So I actually filmed that in April. And they got in touch with me because I did a tie-dye video for I Saw It First, and they got in touch and said, could we have your content? We loved it. And I thought, oh my God, Stylist magazine, I've even seen, just mad. And then they got in touch and they said, we'd love you to do a summer capsule. But I did it in April. And then as I'd sent it over to be edited, all the BLM came in, all that whole movement, and it just got put on hold. And then I was like, and I couldn't be upset because obviously that's more important than my summer capsule video. But, I was so excited for it, and I was like and I told everyone, oh my God, I'm doing Stylist magazine. Yeah. And then I think it was just the wrong time. So yeah, I've waited from April and it came out last week. So,
loved it. And you filmed this at home?
Yeah, so I'm just filming them. I'm trying to mix it up in different rooms. I've got a little space that I film in. So, but yeah, no, I really enjoy doing them, and it's nice because people actually message me and they're like, you actually help us so much with what to wear, and like I see people then buying it and wearing it, and it is. And then I think, well, then I don't want to be an influencer. I want to be a stylist that. Like I love all the LA stylists. Like I'm obsessed with them all, like Danny Michelle, and like, I've got an edit coming out with a shoe brand, and it's really exciting because it's just nuts. Like I don't even know how it's happening, but
which shoe brand can you say?
Yeah, it's Love Raid. It's only a small one, but
Zara McDermott, she just did a collection with
them. Yeah. So I've been doing mood boards today for it. But that's really exciting, and I feel like it's so mad what Instagram can do, because it just takes you into so many mad different places.
How do you find can't even speak. It's time for a gin and tonic. How do you find that the digital revolution has changed the way that you work? Because obviously since lockdown, you've been doing your clip videos. And it's really changed the way that the content that we put out there and how we communicate with people. How do you think that it has evolved your job?
Yeah, I feel like there's pros and cons to it, because everything is, like when you first started styling, it was you'd email a brand, you'd pull stuff. If they got seen in it, brilliant. If they didn't, now it's like you've got to tag, and if you don't tag, you get emails. When are they going to tag? That's hard. I think that's quite tricky because you're constantly having to I'm not an agent, so I can't control when someone puts something on Instagram or don't. I'm a stylist, and it's become this extra part of your job where you're monitoring if people are tagging the right brands, putting the right clothes on Instagram, blah, blah, blah. So in that way, I think it's really hard, as well as everyone seems to be a stylist on Instagram, or, there's that whole thing. So that's tricky. But it also has so many pros because there's so many more boutiques. You can get access to so many more brands that just flicking through, you end up somewhere and you found this really amazing dress that you'd have never known of before. Or, I get a lot of my work from Instagram. Probably most of the people I've met is through Instagram. So there's just such pros and cons.
So you mentioned earlier that you still do quite a lot of test shoots, and you started out doing lots of test shoots as well. all of our students are expected to shoot all of the time when they're at uni, and obviously they contribute to Carbon magazine as well. But what they often find the tricky thing is getting hold of clothes, because they don't have a budget to go out and buy everything. I often say, get together with your friends and raid each other's wardrobes. Have you got what would be your advice for students who are wanting to kind of pull together looks to make them look expensive but on a limited budget?
So I think this is where Instagram's really handy, because find any boutiques that have got under 3,000 followers and they will want images. So you can just ask and say, I'll get these images for you. Here's our mood board. This is our model. Would love to loan some pieces. And it's just about loaning. Like, some of my best relationships with brands are through smaller brands that I've started with, and we've both grown at the same time. Like, I work a lot with Francesca Couture, which is like a Liverpool routine. But now I'll message her my mood board and she sends me the most amazing stuff. But because we've built a relationship, and it's just building relationships with people. But I do think sometimes you can buy and return. Is that awful to say?
No, not at all. They do it all the time.
But ASOS, I've got a pile there that's going back. Hopefully no one from ASOS is watching this. But it is so hard. It is really tricky, and it's impossible, because even now I struggle with some brands loaning. Brands don't always want to loan. At the minute, I've been lucky because of lockdown. Brands are desperate to get their clothes out, but the amount of no's you get is absolutely mental. But you just have to keep on messaging, keep on searching, and that is what is good about being a stylist: finding new brands, looking for new clothes, always asking around. There's probably people at college who are creating collections that you don't even know about, and you could just shoot them. Also, I think as well, I do a lot of beauty. You can even just do, like, say you are limited but just want to get some images, some beauty, get some nice beauty shots with and then it's just your top half, jewelry. So you can always do other things.
Yeah, that's a really good tip, to be able to create images, but then you only need like a few tops and things, don't you?
Yeah. And reuse stuff. I reuse things.
I think another good thing is, don't just think about your girlfriends. Like, if it's a girl like styling a shoot, like think about, if they live with guys, like think about what you can raid from their wardrobes now, because often guys have like really cool things that you can kind of switch.
Well, I did a shoot with a model, and it was a test shoot, and it ended up being on Vogue. And we put her in the photographer's suit. It weren't even a planned look, but he had a suit, and we was like, that is wicked. It was just a plain striped suit, but it just sat on her and it just looked cool.
There you go, always looking. I just want to go back to like your styling services when you're working with clients. There's a lot of websites now, like things like Stitch Fix. Stitch Fix that are launching, that offer personal styling sessions digitally, and that they send you your clothes, and then you only pay for what you keep, or whatever. How do you think that Suki Bella could like respond to kind of those kind of digital platforms? And how do you think that do you think you yourself would ever offer those kind of digital styling sessions?
I've done it before, but I personally like to see how someone looks. Like, I would like to see how something looks on you. And as a stylist, I don't really plan a full look. I sort of get there and be like, that top looks nice on. Actually, I know I mix and match. So for me, I'd find that quite tricky to just send someone some links and be like, off you go, put that one and that, because I like to see it on, and then I'll be like, maybe actually the gold shoes would work, or so I think that's quite tricky to do that, isn't it? I think that's, I don't know, what is, are you a stylist? I don't know, it's a tricky one, isn't it?
I think in theory it really works, but no, it's all built on largely on algorithms. So they say it's like a personal styling service, but actually it's just an algorithm, and robots kind of like ticking what fits you. And I don't see how that can
compare.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't
I think
understand.
you're better off going into a store and getting a personal shopping experience rather than.
I think so, and that takes. I think obviously the difficulty is that there are so many high street stores now. River Island do it, Topshop do it. They all have personal styling sessions, but as a result of COVID, there's going to be a certain amount of people who still want to have that personal styling thing.
Yeah, of course.
They also don't want to go into store, or they don't feel comfortable going into the store. So it is a really interesting place where the market is heading, but I don't really.
Yeah. Yeah, I get messages a lot. People asking me, would you style me? And at first I did do it, but now I just, unless I can meet someone, and I think as well, when it's just online, you sort of do it, it's really time consuming, but you're not giving it much time because you're like, I'm just going to end up sending stuff. Yeah. And I just think you're not giving someone a proper service.
Yeah, I agree. Like I did the same. Like I did this, started this jazz singer, and she, a couple of weeks ago, and she wanted all of these looks, but it wasn't possible to see her. And so I'll just arrange to get some stuff sent to your house, and then you'll try it on, you'll send me pictures, and it just doesn't work because you just can't.
If you want to pull the clothes around.
Yeah, so it felt really clunky, I suppose, to me. And it didn't, like you say, it doesn't give like somebody a proper service.
No.
So I hope we go back to proper personal styling in store.
Oh, I know.
Just the high street. I'm, like you, I came from Look magazine. I've worked for Oasis. Like I am a high street girl through and through. I love the high street, and it just makes me so sad to see.
I know.
Stores
I hate
closing down. So
it's really sad. I'm actually filming something with Channel 5 called Oxford Street 24/7.
Oh wow!
Have you heard?
No.
It's new to me, but apparently it's a thing. And basically, it's just talking about how Oxford Street is so important to so many people, and like that is one of my favourite things of my job, when I get to go Oxford Street and pop into all the stores, and like I just feel like I just would hate to not have a shop. I do think as well, like there's been times when I'm sat at home trying to do things and I'm like, my head is gone. I just can't think, you just have a mind blank. And I will then drive to Lakeside or Westfield, which are my nearest, and just going in a shop and seeing, like all burgundy there or a trend, it just completely, then you're like, okay, yeah, it makes sense now. I'm like, okay, I know what I'm doing. Whereas online, it is very much, you're just flicking through.
Yeah.
And there's no inspiration. You don't get inspired online, do you? You can, but I think walking into a store and seeing the mannequins, seeing the trends, it just is like, then you're like, okay, yeah, I know what I'm doing here.
Yeah. Do you think is the biggest misconception about the fashion industry?
I think a lot of people think it's like really bitchy. I don't really deal with that much bitchiness. I think everyone's always really, really lovely, and everyone's really, really, I think as well, I think people think it's just fun and easy. It's hard, but then me and my friends who we work with all the time, we're like, how is this our job? Like we're sat on set giggling away, like putting clothes together. She's doing makeup and hair, and we're like, this is our job. This is what we do every day. Like, how lucky are we?
Yeah, totally lucky. Did you ever have a plan B? Like, if you didn't work in fashion, is there something else that you would have done?
I think my dad would have liked me to do sports. So I used to do a lot of sports. Yeah. I used to play ice hockey. So it was
wow.
Yeah. So I think because I randomly in college I did PE and fashion. They were my courses, and communications. Like random. I think I just wanted to go to college with my friends.
Yeah, definitely. The industry is really competitive, and our students work on a unit where they kind of put together their professional portfolio. What would you like to see in a portfolio from a stylist?
I think variety, like something that's a bit more, like you can see they've done, it's not just the same type of model, the same style, just to show that they really can do versatility, isn't it? It's like nice to see a large amount. And I remember my aunt once saying when she was hiring for a job in PR, like for her, she would go much more on like experience, and like whilst you're at college, even if that is one day a week that you're working wherever or for whoever, or in your 6 weeks holidays. I know it's difficult at the minute because of everything going on, but just any sort of experience to show that you're like willing and going out and doing things, even like if you have in your book some assistant, like at the back of your book saying like I've assisted this and this, just rather than just your qualifications.
Yeah, I think it's always really important. Obviously your qualifications are super important in getting
of course.
I have to say that.
Yeah.
But your experience counts for so much, because that's when you learn like your hands-on skills, isn't it?
Yeah.
You can read all you like, especially when it comes to being a stylist. You can read about it in books, but you can't.
Yeah, it's so hands-on, and I think it's brilliant and obviously your qualifications will get you to ahead of a lot of people, because it's brilliant to have that, but then it's having your experience to go with it.
Yeah, I think so. They go hand in hand,
because it's so important. Like, I've had assistants on shoots before, and it's like, I know it sounds silly, but it's common sense. Because like, it's not, you can learn so much from assisting, you can meet so many people, and just watching someone is probably one of the best ways to learn. And you'll have someone and you'll turn around and you're like, can you steam this? And they're like miles away or on their phone, and you're like just that should have already been done. But then obviously you don't want to be, like, it's all learning. Maybe when I first started I wouldn't have known to, but it's just being like really on it and just thinking.
I used to have an intern when I can't remember where I was. Anyway, I used to have this intern assistant who used to work with me all the time when I think I was freelance actually. And she always used to do things before I knew that I needed them.
Yeah.
And that's what used to shock me the whole time. I would then think, oh shit, I better get those close to me. I better do that. And I'd turn around and she'd be like, oh, I've done it. And you're like, oh, thanks. Yes, you have. Thanks.
Yeah.
So
I think this is what I'm on the lookout for right now.
Oh, really? Well, I'm sure there'll be loads and loads of people wanting to come and assist you.
Well, I'm desperately in need. So, but it's having someone who, is on shoot days, it can be pretty manic, can't it? And especially if you've got more than one model. Like on Wednesday we had 6, and it was mental. But just having someone like, my assistant was really good the other day, but she's not going to be an assistant much longer. And I was like, oh, I need to put bangles on her. I turned around, she had the bangles on. I was like, okay, let's just having someone who, and even if she had the bangles on, then I went, oh, they don't need them. Like, it's just someone who's thinking outside the box.
Definitely. That's all my questions. So thank you very, very much for joining us today. God, I sound like a news reader. Thanks so much for you want to do a shameless plug for your Instagram?
Well, of course. No, I do. Do you know what it is? I think because I did another one of these for the FRA that I used to go for, and I did get loads of the students messaging me. So I'm more than happy to, and just nudge me if I don't reply as well, because it don't bother me. But I have loads of IGTVs where I've got like how I become a stylist.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
So there's some like good content on there that can help with, becoming a stylist, what it's like being a stylist. And I'm starting a vlog as well.
Oh, amazing.
So
what can we expect from that?
So that's just going to be literally following me around. Like last week I had 6 shoots, so I filmed every single one of them. Just sort of the highs and lows of being a stylist, I guess. It's just another thing. I feel like everyone loves the behind the scenes, so but my Insta is @Ellis Ranson Kiss.
Amazing. Well, thanks so much for joining us. It was amazing.
Thank you for having me. I hope it's been helpful.
Yeah, no, you definitely, you've given some really good advice that I think they'll definitely be able to take on. So thank you very much, and hope to see you soon.
Thank you. See ya.